What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another beautiful evening. Let's break down some stuff for you. So, today we're going to go through the input system and let's make my video a little bit smaller, super small. And let me show you guys what we're going to do. So, I hope you don't see me breaking my neck. And let me play my music. Everything's great. So, let's go to Window. Oh, so first we're going to do the input system, and the input system, I think this might be a little bit too loud. Hello, hello. All right, so we're going to talk about the input system and setting that up. This will allow us to take input from the keyboard, from a controller, from a mouse pad, and take it in as input for our game. So let's get that set up. This is my favorite way to do it. So of course you want to start a new project. If you're already in a project, feel free to work from there. Let's go to Window. Follow me. Let's go to Package Manager. And then see, I already have mine in my project. Let's see. Is it here? Is it here? Maybe it's not. Maybe we can download it together. Error refreshing packages, see console. Hold on. Alright, if you see an error message like this, cannot perform UPM operation, unable to perform online search, cannot fetch authorization code, user access token is expired or invalid. Oh, this is a key term. You may need to sign out and sign in again. Always check the error message. So it's telling us what to do, so let's try it out. Go to Unity Hub, Preferences, not that. Click your icon for your name, initials, sign out, and let's sign in. Let's see if this works. Okay, signed in for us. Let's clear that. So we did sign in, and now we're testing it again. I just press clear on the console. If we believe anything is possible, we see that it's refreshing packages and features. Doing this. Dang. Yes. So we did get to work. Good job, everyone. Thank you. So what we're going to be installing today is the input system. Let's see if I can find it real quick in the search. Yes, I can. For some reason it's not installed in this project, which is okay. So what we want to do is search inputs. We'll see input system, some more information about it. View documentation if you want to. Tells you a little bit more about it in long form. See, a beautiful website will make you love to read. So see, this is an uninteresting picture. They should zoom in and show something with color. So let's press install because we do want to install this. And it's great that I'm doing this on a new project so I can do it with you. Alright, so here we're going to see a little message asking us a few questions. This project is using the new input system package, but the native platform backends for the new input system are not enabled in the player settings. What does this mean? Well, let's say we don't know what this means, but I do know what native means. That means original, right? Alright, let's keep moving on. And that's for the new input system, not enabled in the player settings. Okay, I know that's in the settings. Anyways, this means that no input from native devices will come through. Do you want to enable the backends? Doing so will restart the editor and will disable the old Unity Engine input APIs. Let's click yes, because that's what we want to do. And we can always undo this. There's no such thing as impossible. Believe. Let's wait for it to load. Ah, look, it's coming up. Yay! So as that loads, let's go to click packages, Unity register. Let's click this, go to end project. Yes, we see that it did load. Yes. So the next thing is, let's get something working in our code using this. I'm not afraid, I'm not ashamed. Let's go, let's go. So let's make a quick environment so we can really see some stuff working. Do you believe in magic? I do. All right, we see everything is at the origin. That's beautiful. We can click into the scene, click the object, press F to highlight that and show that. It's much easier to navigate when you have a mouse. Right, I'm clicking the right mouse button, left mouse button, middle mouse button. Of course, you can do the same things with these also. So this allows you to do that. So I'm clicking the left mouse button. There's other shortcuts too. If you're just using a trackpad, I'll look that up. But I would recommend a mouse. Back to it though. So we have our plane. Let's have some fun and extend our plane out just a bit. Highlight this. Click this. That's the scalar. And as you see, we move it here. This value changes. And I'm gonna add some color to it. So I like to organize my stuff in folders. Materials are how you add color to different things. So I create a material folder. Let's click inside. Please follow along. Pause if you need to. Right click, create. Let's go down to material. Please let me know if you do have any questions. And let's just change the name. Plain material. Ha 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 ha. Play on words. Ooh, it's kinda clipping a bit. Eek. Let me adjust the screen size real quick. Yeah, I can't really change that. So let's choose a color. So in order to change the color of the material, let it breathe. Let's click this, our material. Let's go to albedo. So this will tell, if you hover over something, it'll give you more info on it. Albedo, RGB, and it includes transparency. Metallic, that's metallic and smoothness. But this is for the color. So let's say we want it green, because green is a great color. It promotes life and great feelings. Let's drag it on here, and let's say we want to make another change to it. We can just click the material. I don't want it to look super smooth or metallic. I don't even know what that did, but it did something. All right, let's go. So we got the material down, so we can just designate from our character. So let's right click in the hierarchy. And let's move on. Clicking cylinder. Click F to, shucks. Let's do that again. So that was a happy mistake. Cylinder, let's keep that aura. Yeah, let's keep that name there. Let's see where cylinder is. So sometimes things will materialize in like random places. If that happens, you can always click the object and it will highlight it in the scene. If you don't see the object, just click this, click this, and move your mouse cursor to the scene, and then press F. I actually wanted the cylinder, keep this. I actually wanted a different thing, so let's delete this. Go back to the plane, and I want to make a capsule. Beautiful. And let's call this one player. Alright, hovering over the scene, press F to zoom in closer to that object. And we see it's kind of stuck in the ground, so let's move it up a little bit. It's just above the ground. You can zoom in a little bit just to tell, but it's not too big of a deal. Yeah. So, but this is not important. It's nitpicking. Alright, so we got that done. Good job, everybody. So now let's kind of figure out some other stuff. So let's get started with creating our movement stuff. So let's make another folder. So back in the assets folder, let's right click, create folder. If you ever cry while you're doing work, just know that you're really putting in that time and effort, and everything will turn out perfectly as long as you believe. So right here, let's type player actions just so we can keep things organized. Let's click inside of it and let's create something amazing. So this is what we'll be using for our new inputs. And let's kind of search. There's so much stuff here. But if you believe in yourself and take your time, you'll find it. Oh, so it's called input actions. Ha 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 ha. Click it. I feel like a new person. And let's call this player controls. Alright, we just did something beautiful. You should have goosebumps. Let's double click. And a window should pop up right here. So this is just how different things are organized on the different player actions. So we have maps. Maps, you can think of that like as it's just another structure for organizing. So let's go through. Let's click the plus, new action map, and let's call this keyboard controls. Or let's call it player controls. Yeah, let's call it player controls. That's better. That makes more sense. And I'll keep that name there. And then right here is where we have our actions. So our actions can be our different player mechanics, like movements, jumping, hitting, kicking, screaming. A game where you can scream. Sometimes you do feel like screaming. Let's change the name. So I right clicked on the action, then rename. And let's just call it movements. Or yeah, movements, good. Man, I'm super turned right now. Turned off the knowledge and off tutorials. Alright, so these are the different action properties after we have this highlighted. So the action type for movement, let's say we want that to be a value. And we want this value to be a vector 2. Why a vector 2? I hope vector, you should be familiar with that from physics. Vector tells you direction and magnitude, direction and magnitude. And since we're only going to be moving in two dimensions, is that the case? Yeah, forwards and backwards, left and right. So we're just keeping this 2 vectors. If we're moving vertically up and down, then it would be 3. All right. Let's delete this. Oh, let's not delete that first. Doesn't matter though. Let's right click and let's go add up, down, left, right composite because it already knows what we want. So click this. Nice. Where it says no binding, ignore that. Let's focus on this. Do I need to change this? No, this is good. This is good. Whew. Almost done. Good job, everybody. Thank you very much. So at up, let's click this one. So now we want to bind these different, let's call them commands, and with our keyboard to trigger that action. All right, let's go. So we'll go to, let's select up. Let's click that. click this box and let's click listen. So what keys do you want to use to move up? I'm going to use W. So you just press listen and then tap that key or input, whatever it is, and then select it. Nice, we got that down. And let's do the same thing. Nice, good job everybody. Thank you everyone, thank you. I will be the best tutorial series person in the world. Let's just keep things cool. Alright, so I just, let me undo. So just right click where it says no binding. We don't need that right now. Right click, delete. Yes, we're getting so much closer. Let's save asset, and let's click this auto save just so things can save automatically. And I think we're getting there. So let me think a thought. All right. I hope I didn't think too long. Let's exit out of this. And I think we're doing really great. So this has a capsule collider. Why did I not include that? Give me one sec. Hey everyone, thank you for waiting. So let's kind of get everything working right. So what we'll be doing with moving our character, we'll be using a character controller. So if you follow the tutorial, you will notice that they used a RigidBody to move their player with forces. And let's not worry so much about that. Why move a player with force? And force comes from within. Nice. But we don't want to worry too much about that. We'll use a character controller. This way we don't have to think so much about the physics aspects of it, which is good for this example and possibly good for some of you guys' games also. If you did want to use a RigidBody, we would just follow the same steps, except this extra stuff, me playing with the character controller, you wouldn't need to do. Let's go. I believe. So on the player, have that selected, and we want to click these three dots, and we want to remove component. Remember that was a capsule collider. Because we'll be adding our own collider thing. But so let's see if this works. If not, we'll try it another way. Let's go to character controller. Beautiful. So we just added a character controller to our objects, and let's see. And if you do want to kind of take note of it, that's the green lines that you see. That's the character controller collider. So everything within that mesh is what's part of the character controller collider. But that's not really here nor there, one thing at a time. And for your prototypes, for your players, if you do want to have like a player, let's start with a capsule or just some other primitive object, and let's worry about animations later. So what's the next step? What's up everybody? So let's continue moving forward. We added the character controller to the player. Now let's incorporate our player action that we just made. And let's just for fun, let's drag that over into our top tab. So you see what I did? I just clicked this tab, open the window, click the tab, drag it over to the top, just so we can look at it a little bit easier. So let's select player again, add component, and type in player input, and this should pop up. Let's select player input. So now it's letting us kind of add in things so it knows what to do. Let's go. So we create the player player inputs or the input action. player controllers. Let's click and drag that over here. Drop. Nice. Good job, everybody. And then when it says behavior, that's what we want everything to do. Let's go to Invoke Unity Events. I love it. Let's drop down events. Oh, wow. So this is where we'll start with the coding, because I believe in the people. So let's go back to the assets. Or is there something else I should do? I guess let's do a quick walkthrough of this. So your player action, your input action asset, which we made right here, which is this, that gets dropped into here. This populates because our default map. So like I was saying, that's how you organize your controls in maps. We have the player controls map, which holds our movement action. As you see, this is the one that's selected. Input module, let's not worry about that. If you do want to know, we could just look it up real quick. Camera, we don't need to know the camera. References, player's camera, no, this is only required when using split screen. So this hover thing does give you some good context. Behavior, determine how notifications should be sent when an input related event associated with the player happens. So what we want to do is invoke Unity events. This allows us to do things within the inspector, which is what we're working in now. This is the inspector. So these are the, I guess, the preset events that are already there. These are the events that are within our player controls, which we set up. So the events that are a part of that. You'll see we have movement. Oh yeah, we'll see we just have movement as the one we set up, which is all good. So next is when we start adding our code to tell it what to do when it moves. So let's go to create, new folder, keep things organized, and let's put in scripts. Let's go. I hope this is helpful for everyone. And this is important for everyone's project too. I believe in every person. Let's select C# script. And right now we can change the name, and let's change it to yeah, we can change to player controls. Player controls. And just type in the name and then press enter. Alright, and then let's double click this so we can open it up in Visual Studio. Visual Studio, which is separate from Visual Studio Code. We all work together to get it set up. Ooh, my gosh, it's so bright. Let's just make it very small. I hope this is big enough. I'm gonna make it bigger, or I'm gonna dual my screen. So many tabs. Please don't look. What's up, everybody? So let's kind of keep moving through everything. So we just put it on dark mode. So right now, where are we at? We're in the code, and this is the code that's going to tell our player what to do when those keys are pressed. So let's see, what's the first thing we need to know? And we'll just walk through the process. Okay, so let's go through with it. So this first thing let's click the player object, and let's drag our script into the somewhere on here. Or it would just be more easier, we could just go to script, or let's type in the name of our script. So player controller. Man, I forget the name. Oh, it's player controls. So we'll do player controls, sign that, add. Just to do it now rather than later. Alright, so now let's start working with our code. See, I got the dual screen up, very cool. Oh gosh, maybe that won't be super helpful. I'm gonna make this super small. Give me 1 sec. I forget that we're on YouTube, so this might make it a bit more difficult. So, but I just want you guys to see a little bit. All right. And then let's just drag this over. It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's say the first thing we want to do, let's make some variables. So since we'll be moving the character with the character controller, yes. We'll be moving the character with the character controller, and let's just do let's just go over a quick definition. Character controller allows you to easily do movement constrained by collisions without having to deal with a rigid body. Character controller is not affected by forces and will only move when you call the move function. Wow, and let's find the move function right here. Awesome. It will then carry out the movement but be constrained by collisions. Okay, awesome. So collisions meaning when two objects touch or get into their collision range. So that's like when they're touching or about to touch. So first thing, we want to get access to the character controller components of the player, which should be pretty easy. So we're making this private, so because it doesn't need to be public. That type of stuff doesn't super matter, but let's keep it like this. At least it doesn't super matter right now, but let's keep it like this. So we just initialize this variable. I think that's initializing it or declaring it. There is a difference. But let's keep moving forward. So we just declared it. So let's initialize it and give it a value. So what we're going to be using is this method called getComponents. So we're going to take our controller variable. So whenever you see that, it's giving you a little shortcut. I'm going to click tab because that is exactly what we're going to write. Thank you, Visual Studio. So this is saying get the components. Let's kind of look. Gosh, let's see if it will go to the definition. No, it won't. Blah, blah, blah. But that's okay. We can go over that later. But this basically just gets the component from our player game object. So this thing right here, it gets it gets this component that we set up. All right. So now after we do that, let's do something fun. So let's create our variable for speed. So let's say we want to change the speed, and since we're still developing, we want to be able to change this on the fly. So this is how you add like input values to the inspector on your script. And let's give it a value. So let's say this is a float. So private, that's it's wow, what is private? Just another modifier. Say who can access it. Don't need to worry about that now. But float tells it the type it is, serialized field. Force Unity to serialize a private field, and now just bring it to. Well, I'll show you where that brings it to once we finish here. All right, so now let's create a new function or a new method. You know, they call them methods here. So let's call ours move. Oh man, not that. Let's call it that. Sometimes that autocomplete messes you up a little bit, and that's okay. It's a long one, huh? Feel free to pause, take a break. And the next thing we want to do is we want to tell our player to move a particular way. So yeah, so let's just make a comment. So right here, we'll just say giving player direction on our vector on how to move. Let's just say that. So remember, a vector that gives direction and magnitude. So it tells it in what direction and how fast. So let's go to private void and let's create a new method, and this will be the one that we use in the inspector where I showed you for the input action. And just give me a sec. So you know the open and close braces, they tell the computer what's in the function or the method. So what we'll be doing here is input context.read. Okay, so yeah, I got you. So this will be the input that the player action calls. When it detects the movement action being made, so that's when somebody presses W, A, S, or D. So, is that okay? The type or namespace input action isn't there. So, type or namespace input action could not be found. Are you missing a using directive? So yeah, we are missing a using directives. Let's just see potential fixes. Yeah, and this works just fine. So I did miss that above, so I'm gonna click this. And you see how I just put it there. So using Unity Engine input system. So that gives us the code to interact with the input system code. That was a little jumbled up, but that's okay. So all right, this is just the parameter for the function. So it's saying it's expecting a parameter with this type. Don't need to worry too much about that. That's just the type for that data, for that variable. And let's keep it simple. Let's say, so let's give ourselves a reminder. The movement is going to give us a vector2 output. So meaning when we're interacting with when this gets called, it will be sending us over a vector2. So in order to have something that grabs that can accept that, let's make another variable, vector2 type, and let's call it move input. And let's add some value to it. Always want to add value no matter where you're at. And let's grab this parameter. Let's go context and dots. Read value. We can tab. So this is just saying the value will be a vector2. This is necessary because it's a function. So the parameter that's passed to this method It's context, and it's a call. It's an input action dot callback context object. That just tells you a bit about the structure of this, of what context is. By structure, I mean context is made up of other methods and variables, and then using the dot operator, or that dot right there, that's what that's called, I think, we can interact with those parameters and those methods. Thank you, thank you. So right here we got move inputs, so that's right here. And let's just also do a quick test. Let's do a debug.log just to make sure everything's working right. And let's do test. This is good for your case. In case something happens, we can check it right here. Go back to the code. Go back to scene. Can everyone hear me okay? Alright, you can see that the move speed is right there. So that's what serialized field does. It pushes a private variable to the inspector to be changed. Alright, so let's go to, what's the next thing we want to do? Let's go to player inputs. And let's try and add that event. So let's go to events, player controls. Let's go to the movement. Let's add a plus. And how will we do this? Easy way is, let's move our cursor and let's click player. Click and hold, click and hold. So you want this still to be highlighted, which it is. Click and hold and drag it to where it says none. Dope. Alright, you see it says no function, but let's navigate to our scripts, which is right here, and let's hope that everything works right. So doesn't look like it took. Let's see. Which is okay. Let's give it a sec, and we'll figure it out. So it just takes a little bit of time to work things out. Let's go back to the code. The issue was that I had it, this modifier I had it private instead of public. And since it was private, I guess that component couldn't access it. So let's I changed it for myself already, but change it for yourself and change private to public. Now let's save, Control S, or file save, it's the same thing. If it's there. I guess you would do file, save assets. And also, just so you know, you want to make sure that this class name right here is the class name. To the left of this colon. You want to make sure this is the same as this. So to the left of the dots, you want to make sure those two things are the same. Player controllers. Alright, it's good for me. So if you did run into an error issue, that might be it also. Now let's try it again. I think I might change it for myself. But let's go to player input component, events, player controls. And remember we dragged the player object here. Now let's go to no function. Click that drop down. Player controls. Boom, and we see our thing. It's beautiful. You're amazing. All right, now let's press play to run it. All right, you see nothing in the console as of yet. So now let me press one of the WASD keys and see what happens. Wow, something should have happened. Oh, You see it's right there. I think I had the wrong one highlighted. So let's start it over just so you can see it work. Let's clear. I think there's some way that you can see everything in the console. Instead of those three things. It's all good though. Alright. Let's see, it's right there. Nice. Nice. Alright, it's beautiful. So we're just seeing that, okay, what we did is working because this is executing and printing to the console. And let's remember that this was in our onMove input method. So this method is getting called, which is really good. So let's erase first things first. Let's go back. Let's stop by clicking play. Now let's continue to move forward. Let's erase this. I'm gonna undo, made a few mistakes. Undo. Erase this line. So what do we do here? Right here is when gets called when action is executed or by the player. Alright, spelled it a little wrong, but that's okay. Alright, so now we want to give the player vector. So we want to give the player object a vector telling it how to move. This move input will give us some magnitude and direction that came from the input from the keyboard. So now let's transcribe that into what we want our actual player to do, our in-game player. And we'll need to let's go, or let's just walk through it. So we'll want a vector 3 because that's how we're gonna get it. It requires a vector 3 in order for it to move. And we're just naming it move velocity. Come on. Think. Alright, I got it. So let's go and let's say, alright, we have X, Y, and Z. So, okay, yeah, that's fine with me. So we have X, Y, and Z. So what do we need to do? Alright, so we want to do it in a particular way. So let me just pull that up really quickly. Or, yeah, let's just do it like this. Let's create another vector. All right, I think we figured it out. So let's keep moving forward. Let's go to the Unity editor. So where were we at? So we got the thing to print in the console. So now let's actually get the player to move. That's where we were. Let's go back to our code. And this is what I put down. So this is just setting up the vector, our movement vector. So grabbing the input, which we grabbed from this method. So grabbing the X and the Y and putting it into a 3-dimensional vector. And this is how you set it up. So this is the type, is the variable name, and this is just initializing it. So initializing a new vector. So you can use this new keyword and vector in the parentheses, values for x, y, and z. So y in Unity is vertical, and x and y are the, I guess, the horizontal planes, right? Yeah. All right. So that's why this is in Z. But anyways, moving on. So we got our vector there, and then we have our move speed. So let's kind of put our move speed into play. Say equals new vector 3. So how would we do that? I guess we would do move vector equals move vector times move speed. Yeah, that's good, I think. So just multiplying move vector times move speed and send it back equal to itself. And then let's go controller.move. So controller is the reference for our character controller that this script is, of the game object this script is attached to. So we'll do controller dot operator move. And whenever you see it like that, you can always just click tab if it makes sense. But let's type ours out. At least I'll type mine out. And then move vector, that's the vector 3 variable. Beautiful. All right, so if everything works properly, well, let's just see. Let's see, am I recording? Yes, amazing. So, and let's change our move speed to 1. You can do a drag or you can input right here. What else? I believe that's it, so let's try it out. Oh no, it doesn't look like I'm moving as of yet. So weird. But do you know why? Maybe I can tell you, I'm not calling this method anywhere, so I'm just still kind of outputting. I changed what I was outputting before just to see something. But I need to call this method within this method. So on movement input, that is what's called when I press the controller keys for movements. And I want to make sure that this move variable is called when that happens. Is that fair? Or should I call it somewhere else? Let's think about this for a sec. Yeah, let's see if this works. This will work, and then we'll probably put it somewhere else too. Yeah, this doesn't really work how we want it to, huh? So let's move it. And I guess we gotta remember that this is just getting called once. So let's move it over to our update method, which gets called once per frame. Maybe that'll make it a bit more smoother. All right, let's save. But that was amazing. We did get it to move. Woo! See how fast that thing moves? Let's lower the speed down by lots. By just a little bit. Oh my gosh, it's way too fast. Let's do 0.005. Okay, that's a lot better, a lot more smoother. And let's just see why that was like that. So it shouldn't be like that. Let's see. And move as it floats. Let me check my other examples really quick. I probably need to add time.delta time. This is a, what is it? Let's look up what it is first before we add it. So basically it looks like that thing moves super fast because, well, let's check real quick. Let's see, time, delta time. When this is called from the sun. So the interval in seconds from the last frame to the current one. I guess this makes it move a little bit more smoothly. So let's see if this affects it. So there's the interval between each frame in seconds. Why is this important? I guess this can step down the speed by the amount of frame, how fast the frames are going, so by the frame rate. So let's go back and let's try to include that. And hopefully that works. See, coding is just a thing of trial and error. I guess that's a lot of things though too. Oh man, that sucks. So whenever you make changes while this thing is running, sometimes those changes don't take. Let's just make sure it took. Okay, it did. Alright, let's try it one more time. Alright. Oh wow. So it's moving pretty slow, it's kinda up to speed. So that did work. So I guess the frame rate was super fast. So that thing just stepped down the frame rate by, or stepped down the speed by lots. Wow, this cylinder looks super weird. But anyways, good job everybody, you got that moving. Now let's see if we can get one moving with forces. So let's add another player real quick. And I'll just let you all know where this is in the video. Alright, let's keep this, let's rename this to RB capsule or RB player. So it has a rigid body. Let's add a rigid body to it. Okay, cool. Then let's create a new script. Create script and just say RB player controls. And let's not do it like that. Let's drag it over to our inspector. See, wait to see it highlighted and drop it. Alright, so now it's attached. Let's double click. Let's make magic happen. So we'll kind of work in a similar way. So let's first start out with getting the rigid body. So let's go rigid body, RB, and then let's go RB, get component rigid body, tab. It's pre-selected, so I just put the tab. And let's go, velocity. Oh man, tough. Oh yeah, I need to put vector. Vector 2. Move inputs. Doesn't really matter the case. It's just a format that you could follow or not. And then let's say I think that's it. Initialize that. So we'll kind of do the same thing we did in the other one. I'm gonna copy and paste. So on move inputs. Of course, I need to put the using directive. Beautiful. So we're taking the inputs, all right, and then let's create our move function. Had to undo that. All right, so our move method or function, I use those words interchangeably. There is a difference between the two, but I don't know the difference yet. All right, so next steps. You got it in the move input, so for what's it called? For physics functions, you want to do a fixed update. I think fixed update runs a little bit differently than the regular updates. Anyway, so like things dealing with physics, so the rigid body, stuff like that, you want to do it in the fixed update. Shouldn't make too big of a difference, but it could, so you want to do it there. Oh, yeah, because that's when all the physics operations are done in the fixed update across the game. But you know, the ones behind the scenes. But in the move function, what do we want to do? Let's say we want to add a force to our rigid body. Add force to rigid body from input. And how will we do that? Let's see, kind of do it the same way we did before. So let's go vector 3. RB force equals new vector 3. And let's say move input dot x. So move input dot x, that's the x value for move input. Since we're not moving in the y direction for this, we'll keep that at 0. Then move input dot y. Remember, this is a 2D vector, two-dimensional vector, so it only has x and y. You can see it right here, only x and y, 2D. So the y value in 3D is vertical, and the horizontal values are x and z. So that's why we're putting in the y in the z spot. It's all good. All right, and then let's add a multiplier. So move speed. We want to change it on the fly, so let's do it like this. Move speed. Let's make it a float. Forgot that. I took a lot of pauses. If you guys didn't notice, I paused the video just to look some stuff up. So It does take a little bit of time, but that's okay. I hope you can hear me. Next step. Next step. I'm kind of tired, so that's why I'm talking a little wild. Let's go to, let's see if we can add the force as it is now. So before we do that, let's add the multiplier times move speed, and then I guess times time dot delta time. And then let's go to RB dot, what is velocity? So let's go to RigidBody and make sure we get the right one. Or let's try that out first. Let's see what it says. So this is the velocity vector of the rigid body, presents the rate of change. So I guess I'm setting it. And I'm gonna just check the documentation on that. So I'm gonna just type in rigid body. Rigid body is a class. So I'm just click on anything, and then I'm gonna click on this. And then I'm going to go to velocity. Velocity vector of the rigid body represents the rate of change of the rigid body position. In most cases, you should not modify the velocity directly, as this can result in unrealistic behavior. Use add force instead. Alright, so let's do add force instead. See, that's what's great about reading. Anything is possible if you believe. Alright, so let's look at add force. So it takes a vector 3 and then force mode. So the mode is the type of force. Let's see the types of forces. So they have force mode dot force. Interprets the input as force and changes the velocity by the value of force times, I think that's delta time. The effects of the forces applied with this function are accumulated at the time of the call. Velocity change interprets the parameter as direct velocities change. Let's see. Alright, so I just did a little bit of learning. So yeah, let's use add force. And however you want to use it, if you do want to use the velocity method, we can do that too. But let's go with add force. And these are the different force modes. We got force, acceleration, impulse, velocity, change. I want to do impulse, so add an instant force impulse to the rigid body using its mass, I guess, in the calculation. And I want to see how that works. So they have some sample code up here. Let's see if I can find something. It's taking so long. So long to do the finding. No, it's not that deep. Let's code it ourselves and see what happens for ourselves. So let's comment this out. So I'm gonna do backspace, just in case we want to do it again. Let's do RB dot add force. All right, and then let's do. So how does this work? Add force. I wonder if that's still a parameter. So let's see how this works. And then let's see if it lets me put something else. It sure does. So force mode, and let's say I wonder, do I need to put it as text? Let me just try as Oh, so okay, force mode dot impulse, and that just auto populated. Thank you, Visual Studio. And then I'll add that to the fixed update function. Move. So this is called on every time fixed update is. So update is called not once per frame. This is called I think before the right before the update frame, right before the update method. So there is like a work or a flow on how everything is called, and you'll learn that as you keep moving forward. And this video is super long. But we walked through a lot of stuff, so hopefully you all get some stuff out of this. And I'm going to disable the one player, so disable this, just so we can focus on this one. And let's change the color, just so we can know which one is which. RB. Alright, let's play, and let's see how this works. So this is not working. It's all good. So I realized that we didn't add the player action to that, to this. You can do it. To this game object. So let's drag that in, or let's go add component. Let's go player input. Then let's drag this here. And all this looks good. So let's go to Invoke Unity events and behavior. So events, player controls, and movement. Let's click the plus. Let's drag our RB player object right here. Then let's go to click no function. Let's go to RB player controls, and then on move input. All right. And move speed needs to be not 0. It was 0 before. So make sure you change that to a value. Let's play and let's see how this goes. So as you see, it does add a force to it. And remember that we are using, since we are using forces, it's kind of just how it is a little bit. But anyways, so you can play around with that, and there's different force modes. So that was impulse, so like hitting it, like impulse. So let's do force acceleration. Let's save. Let's go back here. Now let's press play again. You're the greatest, we're the greatest. So we can see the positions moving, or it's rotating, so it's rolling. I guess it's super hard to see, and the move speed is so slow, so let's move it up. Let's see if that makes it go faster. Let's keep increasing it. Yeah, I think that is making it go a bit faster. Oh yeah, so moving that up did make it go a lot faster. But this is something to play with. So I know some of you all are using forces, and if you did want to incorporate player actions or player input with that, we just walked through that. So we did a few cool things today. So we set up using the new input system. Then we walked through setting up movement in a player using that that has the character controller set up. and using that to detect collision. So not using the rigid body, but using a character controller instead, meaning this object is not affected by the physics in the game. And we create a player input action, I guess, object, and we utilize that here. That takes our this lists out our inputs. What else? What else? We create some scripts. Is there anything else? And we use this method to call a particular method in our script for when movement is done. And then we do the same thing for a object that's taking player inputs, but that object has a rigid body. So we just walk through the same thing also. This may be helpful for your games. Please let me know how everything goes. And then let's just turn them both on just for fun. Let's see what happens. I did select that, and this is selected. So let's see what happens. Oh yeah, this is super slow, right? I gotta change the move speed. Yeah, since this character controller, it just pops it up. So it's a little funny. But anyways, there we go. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye. All the way to the top.